Welcome back. This is TV8 Summit Sunrise. I'm your co-host Scotty Bondo, live at the beautiful Grand Lodge on Peak 7. Amazing property. Take the gondola up here and take a tour of this place. Pretty cool around here, isn't it?
It is beautiful up here, Scotty.
I know, I love it. So this is Dan from Summit Extension. He's our very own Summit County Lorax, if you will. Good to have you, sir. Thanks for coming out this morning, getting up early and coming to chat with us. And we're going to talk about trees specifically.
That's right. We're going to talk about the forest.
The forest. And the forests have been around here for a long, long time. And they, like people, they have varying degrees of health. What's kind of happened with the health of our forest here in Summit County?
I like the way that you brought up people, Scotty. Forests have a lifespan about the length of a human, at least the lodgepole pine forest here in Summit County. So we think of the lodgepole pine tree, and it's about a 100-year-old species.
Okay.
A human who lives to be 100 years old would be doing really pretty good.
Sure. Heck.
So the trees around here are unhealthy.
Oh, okay.
For the most part, even if you see a green overstory, they are at the end of their life cycle.
I see.
And this is landscape wide.
And these are the lodgepole kind of we're speaking about, and these are kind of a secondary species that came here after the miners, you were telling me.
Sure. So really, lodgepole has always existed in this ecosystem, and they are a disturbance-dependent species.
Oh.
So we also have, as far as the conifers go, spruce and fir, subalpine fir, and then we have some deciduous trees, which are aspen.
Okay.
But our predominant tree type is a lodgepole pine. It's a disturbance-type species, and humans have been managing these forests for a long time, and I think that's something we forgot. We don't mess with the intercontinental west.
Yeah.
The Rocky Mountains are our heritage. And so for, the last 50 years or so, we really haven't done a lot of logging in the Rockies, in Colorado specifically, Summit County. But about 100 years ago, to go back to this human timeline, the miners were here. And their infrastructure was built on the forest and the commodity at hand, the natural resource of wood.
They cut down a lot of the trees to support the mines.
That's right. So pretty well, the entire landscape was devoid of trees. We now have a resurgence. The lodgepole pine are a disturbance-dependent species.
All right.
So they're cut down, they grow back like crazy, and our current situation is almost the entire landscape is an old overstory. I was about to say old growth, but they're not old growth trees.
Right.
So we are now experiencing a lot of dieback, and really being a disturbance-dependent species, wildfire would have been the element in nature that would have sort of created a mosaic pattern across the landscape and kept this forest type healthy, meaning different age class. We don't have that many different kinds of trees that live at this altitude,
Right.
but we do have different age class that would create a healthy forest structure. All of these trees being the same old age leaves us in an unhealthy scenario. So instead of, and fire would have been the thing that balanced that out. Ultimately, we have diminished fire, we fight fire, and that's a good thing for all of us. It protects our communities. I don't want my house to burn down. So what we're doing now is realizing that active forest management, hands-on management, is a really important tool that we ought to be employing.
And one of these tools that you guys use is the clear cutting.
That's correct.
It seems kind of counterintuitive, but it absolutely will help the forest. And tell me how that works.
Sure. So clear cutting is, of course, it hurts our hearts. And I know that it is an emotional thing to see the forest being taken down. But these forests are unhealthy. And so to reset nature's clock, in lieu of fire doing that, we can do patchwork clear cutting, and so this is selective clear cutting in a mosaic pattern across the landscape, and that will ultimately reset this age diversity clock so that, unfortunately, not today for you and I, we get to see the spoils of a clear cut, which are kind of ugly. We would all agree for a couple of years. But hey, go to any spot that's been clear cut around Summit County, let's say a few years ago, and walk around. And I promise you there will be a bazillion little puff balls of trees across the land. And those little guys today, given 10, 20 years, of course, we're getting older on the same timeline as the trees are getting older.
They're going to grow up, they're going to become teenagers and start getting into trouble.
That's indeed what's going to happen.
Cars and, oh, no.
And we're going to have a really great, healthy green forest that'll be a short forest in our lifetimes, but it's going to grow to be an overstory forest once again.
Driving around the county, I always wondered why it was a little patchworky. When you're doing that, it seemed kind of strange that you would just stop and then let but it's to reset so that not everything is the exact same age. It makes perfect sense. That's amazing.
It does.
And a great example, I drive by Swan Mountain every day, and the clear cutting they did out there, which is what, 3-4 years ago?
That's right.
You can't tell now. It's gorgeous over there. Minus a few trees, but you know what? It's a whole different type of ecosystem now, and that's what we can expect and look forward to in your patchwork clear cutting that you're talking about.
And that expectation of the future forest is a little bit uncertain. So we have climate scenarios that are being accepted by science, and so we don't really know what the future temperatures are going to look like, but we do know that we can protect communities and we can sort of help the forest become healthy once again. And ultimately, in the future, we're going to have a really nice place to live like we do today.
Right.
It's just going to look a little different.
Sure.
And I often like to say that glades, vistas, and view corridors are really wonderful assets that we can embrace, whereas previously we hid our houses and our homes behind the veil of the forest, and that's what we became accustomed to.
Very good. Now, real quick, tell me about what, speaking of protecting the forest, what can homeowners do to protect their homes and living here in a forested region?
And this is defensible space.
Yeah.
So we know we live in a fire-prone ecosystem. Wildfire happens across the nation. And to create defensible space around your home, remove flammable vegetation, push the forest back a little bit, and ultimately this summer in 2014, Summit County Government, Summit County Wildfire Council will come and collect your slash through the community chipping program.
Very good. And we got the website up on the screen right now and been showing that. So, hey, thanks for coming out here and talking to us. I've learned a lot. Very educational. You never know what you might learn here. TV8 Summit Sunrise. Thanks again, Dan. Good to have you.
You're welcome, Scotty.
We got more coming up here. TV8 Summit Sunrise right after this.